Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live Kids Health Talk, a series of talks from MGM Children's, MGM Healthcare, Chennai. This is a series of talks we have every Wednesday, usually between 12 to 1, but today at a different time. These are regarding different topics with regards to children's health, from pediatricians and our visiting pediatric super specialists in different areas. We hope you have found these useful. These will continue to be available on Facebook for you to access anytime you want to relook at them and to share with anybody you think might find this useful. It is my pleasure to introduce today our speaker, Dr. Venkateshwaran R. Dr. Venkateshwaran is a child psychiatrist, that is, a doctor who deals with psychiatric and psychological problems of children, children's mental health and well-being. So many people have often said that one of the most important jobs in the world is the one that we are least trained for, and that is being a parent. So I think Dr. Venkateshwaran's talk will be very relevant for many of us to understand whether there is more to being a parent than what we have learned while watching our parents, our grandparents, and what we do, which comes naturally to us. Is there a science to parenting? Is there something that we can do better to make our children's lives better? So I am also very excited to listen to this talk. Over to Dr. Venkateshwaran.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. Hope I'm audible. So today is the topic where we will see the signs of parenting. Okay. See, even before this lecture, many of you would have had like so many lectures on parenting, especially in this lockdown where there is series of webinar. But I like to stick with very relevant points. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with lots of stuff. Very relevant point, and after that, I like to have an interactive session. Okay. So when it comes to parenting, these are the questions that commonly comes. Is it a challenge? Is scientific discussion important in parenting? Okay, you know, like our grandma and other people ask, like, why you are guys so preoccupied about parenting? Okay, what is the big deal about it? We were parents and we have raised you kids. And what is wrong with you people? Like, you need a book or somebody to tell you how to do parenting. Okay, are you overdoing things? This is one common question that has been asked. Second, is there a single proven method or a program to teach us parenting? And most often, a psychological illness results from parenting. And what is the effect of pandemic? Okay, these are the common questions that is raised regards to parenting. Coming to a first question, is this a challenge? Is scientific discussion so important? I won't say completely, but it is kind of becoming a challenging affair. As we become more and more busy and we are more and more getting westernized, the parenting becomes very important domain, and we need some scientific knowledge. Especially kids of this age has very high IQ, and their emotional quotient is not keeping on par with intelligence. So the parenting and some scientific knowledge about it is must. Okay, this is the answer to first question. Second, is there a proven method or program? No. Okay. For you, if your parenting style is working, if you are happy, your child is happy, then don't worry. The parenting you are your own author. Okay, of whatever is right. Okay. So, but if it is not working, better to follow a proper scientific approach. Third, is psychological illness results from parenting? No, it doesn't result from bad parenting or inconsistent parenting. But when there is psychological illness, because of poor parenting, the symptom severity may increase. Okay, if there is psychological illness, if you follow basics of parenting and if you are going to stick to the basics, the illness magnitude will definitely come down. And most often, the psychological illness like depression or psychosis, etc., is often confused with bad parenting. Okay, It won't go away with just by modifying parenting. Okay, we need to have professional help in case of psychological illness, along with modifying our parenting. Last is, what is the effect of pandemic, okay, on parenting? Many people will say the pandemic has actually worsened situation, and it has caused lots of problem. But it is partly right and partly actually this pandemic and lockdown has improved various parenting style. Many people tend to spend more time with their kids, and behavioral problems has improved. This is very surprising. Okay, so just by merely by spending more time, half of the behavioral problems have improved. Half of these kids are really doing well. There are some issues, I agree, but it has also done some good. Okay, so these are the answers to these basic questions. Second, these are the points which all these parenting workshops say. Okay, I just want to go through this briefly before going into the proper areas where I want to cover. Okay, these are the basics. Have warmth and sensitivity. Okay, we all want to have warmth and sensitivity, but when will we lose this? Okay, when we are not in a good frame of mind. Okay, when we have our own mood fluctuations, then we don't show that warmth to our kids. Okay, so this is what we have to introspect, whether we have too many family problems and problems outside, because of that, like there is mood fluctuations, or am I overreacting? Okay, am I reacting too much, so that like at various points I'm not being very warm and sensitive to my child. So these are something which we have to introspect. If we are overreacting consciously, we have to change the way we react to day-to-day life events. Number one, routine. One important thing in parenting, I'll talk about routines little later as well. Structured routine, especially for both parents and kids, it will always do good to the child. If it is very chaotic, the routine is not organized, it is very chaotic, then always it results in lots of behavioral problems. Reduce chaos in terms of routine as well as in terms of family problems and quarreling, etc. etc. More you are organized, your child's behavior will be better. Quality time. As I was telling before, this lockdown has actually improved behavioral problems. Lockdown has actually improved depressive symptoms in children just because they started spending quality time with their kids. Okay, what is quality time? It is not only taking care of them like basic needs or helping them in studies. It is like playing with them, talking with them, reading a storybook with them. This is what I mean by quality time. And be very consistent, because your kid should know like how you react every time. If they do a mistake, one time you react in a different way, and another time you react in a harsher way, so they are going to get confused, which is not so good. Okay, so be consistent and be reflective and communicative. You have to be genuinely appreciative for all their good. Find every opportunity to praise them. Okay, some people will think praising them too much, they will get that adamancy and they won't do well. It is actually other way around. If you are genuine in our praise, and if like we should not praise them without any reason. Find every opportunity, even small things, you praise them with proper reason, they will really do well. And be communicative. Like if you are not happy, say that you are not happy rather than reacting to it. Okay, so if you focus on communication and little rewarding, they will really do well. Last is, you have to set limits. For example, for bad behavior you have to set limits, but try to avoid harsh limit setting. And flexibility, this is one important thing. Okay, this is where we talk about stereotypes. Okay, many of us are very stereotypical. We want things to happen in certain way, and if there is something wrong in that, like we react very badly. Okay, so that is not good. So we have to be very flexible, and we have to ask whether this amount of rigidity is worth doing, because the child is exhibiting lots of behavioral problem. Should I change? Should I be a little more flexible? Okay, this question has to be asked repeatedly to us. We have to introspect for us to be a little more flexible. And last but not least, a good modeling. If you want a behavior to change in your kids, like you have to change. Like if you are sleeping till 10 and you want them to get up at 7, this will never happen. Okay, they are going to see you and learn rather than listen to you and learn. Okay, so these are the basics parenting skills which you will tend to hear in every workshop and every school and college seminars, etc. Okay, so that's why I just ran through it before going into the areas I want to cover. The next thing I want to cover three areas first: how to deal with anxiety in children, how to deal with depression in children, how to deal with behavioral problems. Next, I want to see how to keep them in their routine and some focus on adolescents, especially how to communicate with them and emotional intelligence. Okay, these are the areas I want to cover briefly today. Okay, so coming to our first topic, anxiety. Okay, here I am not talking about anxiety disorder. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Here I am not talking about anxiety disorder. Okay, I am talking about normal day-to-day anxiety. See, anxiety disorder, clinical anxiety disorder is basically if your kid has 6 months or more, has lots of worries, unexplained, and in turn he or she is getting headaches, body aches, palpitation, tremor, sweating, etc., where your pediatrician checks with them and they say nothing medically wrong. This is they are having clinical anxiety disorder. Clinical anxiety needs professional help. If we don't treat, that will going to impact their day-to-day functioning. Number one. Okay, I'm talking about day-to-day worries. It is the child is not continuously anxious. The child is not having clinical anxiety, but worry about day-to-day things. Okay. Here, if you see small kids like 2 to 3 years, they will start worry about thunder and lightning, which is quite normal. And little older kids, like at around 4 to 5 years, they start worrying about death and dead people. Okay, um, because in this age, kids in this age, like when there is a pandemic has started, like they were worrying about whether corona will kill me, etc. Because this is when they understand the concept of death. The kids younger than this would not have understood, and kids older than this by then, like they would have come to terms. This is okay. This keeps happening. Okay. Next 5 to 7 years, they worry about all this ghost and other thing. Okay, these are the age group kids where when they the famous Shaktiman serial, they try to jump from the building thinking the Shaktiman will come and save us. Okay, this is like this is the age group where they we call it as pre-operational stage where they believe in all these fantasy ghosts very strongly. Okay, so the anxiety related to it is normal. An adolescent rejection from peers. Okay, um, they worry about peer rejection a lot more than what we were that time. Okay, this time like I get many adolescents like who come with lots of anxiety and depression because he was not called for a birthday party. Okay, they take it so seriously nowadays. Okay, this has become kind of a normal anxiety when they through the adolescent age. Okay, these are the normal anxiety, but as I said, if it is continuous for at least 6 months and it is causing dysfunction where they have day-to-day functioning getting affected with anxiety, it is called clinical anxiety disorder. If it is clinical anxiety, you need to have professional help. If it is somewhat day-to-day anxiety which is there and coming and going, we can you can try these steps. Okay. So this is a mnemonic, okay, FEAR, for the management of anxiety. Okay, F for fear, that is manifest anxiety. Manifest anxiety is because of the worries, they get very palpitation, like they get tremors, they get sweating. Okay, this is what is we call it as manifest anxiety. Okay, here what do? We do something called relaxation training. Second is how are we going to deal with the expected negative thoughts? Okay, how are we going to arrive into a logical thinking? Third, if the problem is real, how are we going to do problem solving? And last is how do we keep rewarding our kids? Okay, this is a mnemonic in the management of anxiety, FEAR. Okay, fear. Okay, I'm sorry, this is slightly small in this tool. Okay. For manifest anxiety, F for fear. For manifest anxiety, we have to practice something called relaxation training. Okay. For example, if a kid is worried, overwhelming, and has lots of palpitation, tremors, etc., we help our kids in practicing one or other relaxation training. Most commonly used is deep breathing, simple deep breathing techniques. Because it is simple and everybody keep advocating it, it is commonly ignored, but it is a very effective tool. It increases our vagal tone. There is a nervous system called autonomic nervous system where it has a sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic nervous system acts as an accelerator. It makes us anxious, and parasympathetic nervous system is like a brake. You do this deep breathing, breathe in through your nose, hold for 3 to 4 seconds, and breathe out through your mouth. Just focus on your breathing as you do. Do it for some time. It increases your vagal tone and relax us. Okay, so this is simple deep breathing. It is a very, very, very effective. Okay, you can teach your kids to practice deep breathing whenever they are anxious. This is to reduce their manifest anxiety, that is like palpitation, tremors, etc. But if you want something further, okay, your kid is bored of doing deep breathing, okay, you can do something called kids JPMR, okay, Jacobson progressive muscle relaxation. You can type in Google and you will get these two performa. Okay, you type in Google, that is kids JPMR, you get this performa. How to practice? You have to seriously contract and relax various muscle groups in the body and observe how it is when it is contracted and how it is when it is relaxed, and consciously relax all the muscle group so that the anxiety, that is manifest anxiety, comes down. Okay, so how to do? For example, ask your kid to imagine there is a lemon in the hand and ask him to squeeze. Then the lemon, the squeezing act is done, and ask him to relax. Okay, that is one thing. Then ask him to just stretch the shoulder. Okay, this is a lazy dog. Okay, how the dog will stretch the shoulder like this. Okay, stretch nicely. Okay, this is to contract and relax arms and shoulder. Next is ask him to imagine that he's a tortoise lying down in the water bank, and some danger is coming. So what will tortoise do? Okay, go inside the shell. Okay, so tortoise has gone into the shell and the danger has gone and child can come out. Next is ask him to imagine there is a jawbreaker bubble gum and ask him to bite. This is to contract and relax jaw. Now the bubble gum is broken. Okay, so he can relax the jaw. The next is ask him that there is a butterfly is sitting on the top of the nose. He has to chase it away, not by using hands. So he has to do like this to chase the butterfly away. Okay. Last is the child is lying down in the park in the grass. A baby elephant is coming, and the baby elephant has not noticed the child lying down there. So the elephant might stand on the abdomen. So ask him to just contract the stomach so that even if the baby elephant stamps on it, he can escape. Now the baby elephant has seen the child and moved away. So now relax. And think the child is sitting in the muddy puddle. Okay, he has to reach the bottom. So keep pressing the legs. Okay, till it reach the bottom. And now you reach the bottom, you relax. Okay. So these are the series of steps that are given in this child kids JPMR, Jacobson Progressive Muscle Relaxation Training, where you can teach the child. If it is adolescent, you can go for a normal JPMR. But if it is a kid less than 7 year old, especially, you can teach the kids JPMR for them to seriously contract and relax various muscle groups and then sit in a very relaxed posture. Okay, this is a relaxation training which you can all teach your kids. Next is expected negative thought. What is the reason for anxiety? They get lots of negative thought, worries. Okay, in anxiety, the negative thought is worry. Okay, they think something bad might happen, something worse might happen. Even like, for example, if I catch corona, definitely I'm going to die. This is the negative thought. Okay, will I catch corona? Yes. If I'm not safe, I'm going to catch corona. Okay, this is not a negative thought. This is the normal thinking process. But if I catch corona, definitely I will die. Is the negative thought, because the mortality rate in India is less than 2%. So this is excessive thinking. Maximum consequence is basically negative thinking. In anxiety, kids get lots of worries, especially about what might happen. The bad might happen. Okay, anticipatory negative thoughts will keep coming. So what do we do for it? So this is the step. Okay, we have to teach them to be aware of their negative thoughts, ask questions, challenge the negative thoughts, and have an alternative thinking. This is especially important in adolescents and little older kids. Okay, when they get lots of worries, make them sit and ask them, is this thought 100% accurate? If not, there is a chance that otherwise it may happen. Yes. Is this helpful for you to think in this way? No, it is going to affect my day to day performance. And what will you advise your friend if he or she is in the same situation? And what is the chance of this coming true? Almost a replica of the first point. So make them ask these questions. Make them aware of the negative thinking. Help them to challenge the negative thinking, and help them to form an alternative. Okay, there is a possibility. For example, let's take this corona example. There is a possibility I may catch infection, but even if I catch infection, the 98% nothing will happen, but let me be safe so that even I don't even catch the infection. Okay, so this is the alternative hypothesis. Here, the negative thought is I'm going to catch infection, I'm going to die. This is the worst, like predicting all the worst outcome. This is the negative thinking, and be aware of this negative thinking, challenge it, and have alternative explanation. So this is how you help them to deal with negative thinking. This anxiety, that is one of the important component is the negative thinking. And if it is a real problem, okay, so will I catch corona? Yes. If I am not following safety precautions, I will catch corona. This is a real problem, okay. If I don't finish my homework, my headmistress may shout at me, okay. This is a real problem, okay. So what do we do? Okay, we should also help them to learn problem solving skills. This is an exercise where you can encourage them to do. Ask them to write all their problems. Okay, before this, what the common mistake we do is we try to find solution for each and every problem. Okay, we keep advising, okay, don't do that. Help them to solve their own problem. Let them come up with a solution. Then we will help them to refine it. So that is the best way to do it. Okay, rather than giving them a ready-made solution for each and every problem. Okay, so encourage them to write the problem in a notebook and think of different solutions, and ask them to write pros and cons for each one, and ask them to pick one and see if it has worked. Okay, in this way, if you practice them over time, they can mentally do this problem solving steps. When they are small, you teach them to write each and everything. When they grow up, they will do these problem solving steps. They won't impulsively react, they won't succumb to pressure. Okay, so this problem solving is a very effective way to help them to be very self-sufficient, reduce their impulsivity by just analyzing the problem rather than reacting outrightly. Okay, this is problem solving for genuine problems. Last but not least, for anxiety, depression, or behavior, we have to keep rewarding for all the successful practice of the above set techniques. Okay, so if they follow all these things, they are able to effectively manage anxiety. We have to nicely reward them. So just to reinforce their behavior so that they don't get affected by anxiety again and again. Okay, so this is the management of anxiety. FEAR, fear, that is manifest anxiety. What do we do? Relaxation training. E, expected negative thought. What do we do? Aware, ask question or challenge it and form alternative explanations. A, actual problem, do problem solving. Or if they do all these things, keep rewarding them. Okay, so adolescent kids and little older kids, they can have this self-rewarding that they can reward, they can do whichever things they like. Okay, but for small kids, we have to keep rewarding them for successful practice of these steps. Okay, this is regarding anxiety. Next is depression. Okay, here depression means, as I told for anxiety, I'm not talking about clinical depression. Okay, clinical depression is if a kid or an adolescent is in a depressed mood, not interested in any of these activities which he or she was doing before, or unusually tired, where the pediatrician says no medical cause, and have the sleep disturbance or increased sleep, loss of appetite or excessive appetite and overeating, or negative thoughts, or suicidal ideas. If they have these symptoms for more than 2 weeks, most of the time, some kids will be very irritable continuously for 2 weeks. Okay, this is the most common manifestation of clinical depression in children. If they have these things, here we are talking about clinical depression. This is not a routine day-to-day mood fluctuations, and we should take a professional help. If it is not clinical depression, then it is very common day-to-day mood fluctuation. Then you can deal with these steps. Okay. Again, in adolescent age, they are prone for lots of depressive symptoms. One day they will be dull, next day they will be up and above. Okay, these mood fluctuations are very common. How to deal with it? It is 3 A's: accept, activate, and analyze. Okay, the analyze, the last step is almost same like what I told for anxiety. Here, acceptance. This is a common mistake we do, okay, as a parent. When they come up with something, like they come up, like I am very depressed because my friend did not speak with me. Okay, what do? We tell them, what is this? For this, you are getting depressed. Okay, so if you are going to get depressed for all these useless things, how are you going to survive in life? Okay, this is the common comment we'll make. That is very wrong. For him, this is the main thing. Okay, all we have to do is just acknowledge it's okay. I have been through this stuff when I was in your age. Things will pass on. Just acknowledge it and accept and move on. Okay, sometimes this itself will improve many of the depressive symptoms. But if you keep telling them solutions, if you don't acknowledge, or if you are putting them responsible for their own depressive symptoms, it is going to worsen. Okay, accept it. Just accept it and acknowledge it. Next is activate. Okay, when do you advise all these activating procedures and analyzing when they are not depressed? Don't advise when they are depressed. Okay, what is activate? In anxiety, I was talking about relaxation training. Okay, you calm down. Okay, in anger also we can do relaxation training. For depression, they have to activate themselves. Okay, how do they activate themselves? Physical exercise is one of the best activating procedures available. Okay, in American Academy of Psychiatry, they have included physical exercise as treatment for even clinical depression when it is milder in intensity. Okay, do 1 hour of good physical, moderate intensity physical exercise. Your mood will improve by causing various chemical changes in the brain. So, for all these mood fluctuations, if they do this physical exercise regularly, that will improve. Okay, one thing. The second activation is stick with your routine. Most common mistake, especially adolescent, what they do is if they are depressed, they will skip routine. They will become guilty, and that will add more and more to the depressive symptoms, and that will become a cycle. Okay, encourage them to stick with their routine even if they are depressed. This you should not do it when they are depressed. Okay, prepare them for mood fluctuations. Okay, tell them beforehand there may be some mood fluctuations. Make sure you stick with your routine, and if you want you involve in a physical exercise, you will be all right. Okay, just tell them beforehand so that they may be well prepared to deal with all these mood fluctuations. Third is analyze. So I was talking in anxiety. There are three A's here: aware, ask, and alternative explanation. Okay, for depression, it is pessimistic ideas. Okay, pessimistic idea is I am worthless. There is no hope for me. I cannot do well. Nobody is there with me. Nobody is helping me. Nobody is understanding me. Okay, these are common negative theme in depression. Okay, you have to make them aware of these kind of specific cognitions and ask them whether are you really worthless. Okay, all those things, whether it is 100% true. What will you advise your friend, and is this way of thinking helps you? These are the questions you tell them to challenge their thought. Okay, for example, if they feel I am worthless, they can analyze, okay, I have done this thing, I have achieved in sports, I have done well in music, I have done well in studies. Okay, my parents like me. Okay, am I really worthless? No, because of this mood my brain is thinking in such a way, so I need not succumb to it. Okay, I should have an alternative explanation, and okay, let me keep trying and I will one day succeed. Okay, this is the alternative explanation. Okay, so be aware of your negative thinking, sit with them and ask them to just write their thoughts, and help them to challenge their thought by asking these questions, and help them to form alternative explanation. Again, here I'm telling, don't do it for them. Okay, don't do all these things and tell them, okay, because of these factors, like you are not worthless, you are good. Okay, make them do it. Always, if you make them do it, it will really work. Okay, so this is what you have to do for the depression. When they are depressed, acknowledge their feeling, prepare them to involve in some or other activating things, and analyze their negative thought. Activation, some kids will commonly involve in negative coping, like watching excessive TV, eating chocolates, or talking with their friend over phone for hours together. Also, when they are calm, make them understand these are the negative coping techniques. See, because of every time you get mood fluctuations, you involve in these things, your studies and other things are going to get affected. We have to prepare them for handling their mood fluctuations. If we don't prepare, they are going to involve in these negative coping, which is going to cause more harm than good. Okay, so always cope in a better way. This is regarding depression. Okay, third is behavior problem, one of the most commonly discussed areas. So briefly we see about what are the reasons for behavioral problem. Sometimes the baby behavior can be normal. For example, temper tantrums. Till 4 years, temper tantrums are normal. Okay, the child can throw temper tantrums, and what we have to do is we simply ignore it, move away. Okay, the temper tantrums will reduce. This is what pediatrician used to say. Adolescent age, because of lots of mood fluctuation, there'll be lots of behavior problem. Okay, 12 to 16, especially in the early and middle adolescent, they have lots of behavioral issues. Okay, this is normal behavior problem. Sometimes behavioral problems can be part of developmental disorders like autism or ADHD. Okay, for example, if the child is hyperactive both in school and home, more than two settings, and if the child is having poor attention because of this, academics is gradually coming down, and there is a complaint from school that that child is not focusing, then the behavioral problem we cannot normalize. It is due to ADHD. Autism, the child is not interacting, not making eye contact, not responding to name call, having lots of repetitive behavior, keeps repeating the same thing again and again, then the behavioral problems can be due to autism spectrum disorder. This we cannot just overlook and move away. Here we have to definitely take a professional help if the behavioral problems are due to developmental disorders. Emotional disorders. For example, the child is perfectly normal and well behaved child. Suddenly, for a week or two, the child is having lots of behavioral problems. The sudden onset, anything which is sudden, we have to see for any medical causes or mood disorders like clinical depression or anxiety. Okay, so this is how the emotional disorders present. Okay, they will be doing well, and suddenly there is an acute onset, like less than a week, the behavioral problems will start emerging and it gradually increasing. Then we are dealing with some sort of psychological illness. Okay, the last is temperament. Okay, we divide temperament into easy child, slow to warm up, and difficult child. Difficult children, they are little tough and they have lots of behavioral problem. Here, most of the management will be applicable for temperament related behavioral problems, and routine behavioral problems we face because of other factors. Okay, not for the behavioral problem due to developmental disorders or emotional disorders. So, how do we divide? Like whenever there is a behavior, it has functions. Okay, what is the reason for the behavior? Well, okay, most often like we don't find why is this child behaving badly. Okay, the child is throwing tantrums. We have to find what is the function of the behavior. Usually there are only three reasons. Okay, one is to get attention. It is like layman term. It is attention-seeking behavior to get your social attention. Second is very straightforward, tangible items. The child wants a chocolate and you don't give it, the child throws tantrums. The third is you like to teach, you want the child to draw, you want the child to finish the homework, the child doesn't want to finish or to sit and do, and child throws tantrum. These are the common functions, okay, to get attention, to demand something, or to escape from a task. Okay, these are the common functions where the child can exhibit bad behavior. So what do we do? The basic thing in management is first and foremost, whenever there is a behavior, you try to fit in one of these three categories, whether it is attention seeking behavior or demanding something or to escape from something. Okay, so basically have a mental makeup to classify behavior into one of these three domains. Then dissociate the child from the behavior. Don't call names. You are a bad child. You are such a pathetic person. So don't do all those things. Okay, tell them you are a very good child, but this behavior doesn't suit you. Okay, so here you have dissociated the child from the behavior. Okay, so if you keep calling names, the child will take that identity over time. You are calling me bad, so I will become bad. Okay, they will develop conduct disorders. Okay, so dissociate the behavior from the child. That is the first step. If the child has lots of behavioral problems, write it and score it between 1 to 10 and pick up the most important and most severe thing first to for behavior modification. Okay, so divide, don't try to address everything together because you will not be able to change, you will be frustrated, you will end up in a negative handling. Okay, so dissociate the behavior from the child, take one or two behavior at the time for change. Then we follow something called differential reinforcement. Okay, here the alternative behavior has to be rewarded and the problem behavior has to be ignored. For example, if it is attention seeking behavior, okay, how do we practice the differential? For example, you are talking over phone, the child wants to get your attention, the child throwing tantrums or doing things which you are told them not to do. Here it is clearly attention seeking. So what you have to do, you need not tell no, you need not scream, you need not shout, or you need not yield to the behavior. You simply ignore. If it is attention seeking behavior, you simply ignore. The child knows that it should not be done, but the child is doing. Sometimes even the negative attention is attention. Don't even give negative attention. Don't even tell No. When can you teach? Later, while lying down or while walking in a park, you can tell like you should not do all these things, but don't attend to the behavior when you think it is attention seeking. Next is to when they demand something. For example, you don't want to give a chocolate, and child wants the chocolate and throwing tantrum. So what do? First, you have to be very patient and very sweetly tell, okay, no, Kana, like you are not getting the chocolate. Okay, still the child is throwing tantrums and child is not settling. You can say a firm no, just slightly raise your voice and keep your body language stiff and make eye contact and say no. Okay, no, I'm not giving. Okay, still the child continues to throw tantrums, then just ignore and move away. Okay, let the child settle down and later on we can discuss. Okay, so tangible items, sweetly tell, firmly tell, ignore. Okay, this is what we have to follow. Okay, third is to escape from the task. Escape from the task, just ask a question whether are you overburdening the child. Okay, whether the task which you are giving is little too much for the child. For example, you are making him study. For example, you are stretching for half an hour, 1 hour. The child will not be able to focus, and child is throwing tantrums. So, if in that case, try to reduce the difficulty of the task and divide the task into small steps and like try to teach all the simple steps. If not, you are giving simplest possible thing. Then start rewarding. Okay, that is where the differential reinforcement. The child sometimes completes the task nicely reward by star chart and other thing I was as I was telling. But if the child is refusing to do, don't allow the child to move away from the room. Just ignore the tantrums. Okay, either you sit and do and you get a reward, or I'm not going to bother and you are going to stay inside the room and your reward will not be there. Okay, just follow this. Okay, here in summary, differential reinforcement basically means try to ignore all the negative behaviors and keep rewarding alternative behaviors. For example, in terms of tangible reward, the child listens, you have to nicely appreciate and give some rewards. That may be a point, that may be a star, or that may be a small tangible item, something else you have to reward. Okay, for good behavior. For problem behavior, try to ignore or manage as I was telling according to the situation. The common mistake we do is nagging. We continue to nag. Okay, either pantiya, whether you have done this, whether you have done that, whether you have done this. Okay, we keep nagging. Okay, don't nag. Okay, uh, consciously we are spontaneously we used to nag. Okay, Indian parenting style, we tend to nag. Okay, we would have told them to study, but we will just follow him through the room and whether what you are studying, show me, like whether you are completed. Okay, why is your room shabby, etc., etc. We keep giving running commentary. Okay, don't do it. Okay, so don't nag. If you keep nagging, see, when I ask, like when they come for counseling, etc., they ask them, are you little harsh? Okay, I said I am not at all screaming at the child, but instead you are nagging. This is worse than screaming. Screaming, at least it can happen only once in a while. Okay, once in a while you shout, another time at least you are normal, but nagging, it happens consistently. Okay, whenever you they go for even picnic, they say don't walk here, don't walk there. Okay, they keep advising, so don't do this, don't nag, and don't punish. Nowadays, as professionals, we won't recommend punishment. Okay, what else we can do? We can do timeout. For example, if it is a severe behavior problem, in the scale of 1 to 10, it is 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. The child is breaking things, hitting people, or going on a rampage. Then probably put him in a room. You be there in the room. You cannot just lock the child inside the room. You be there in the room. Be calm. Try to defend yourself. Be calm. This is called timeout. Let the child calm down. Then start a conversation. Okay, this is how you will manage behavior, and the management of behavior should be based on the function of the behavior. Okay, and one of the common reasons for behavioral problem is sibling rivalry. This is the most commonly asked question. Okay, you have two kids at home. The sibling rivalry is normal. Okay, some amount of rivalry will be there, and once they go past adolescent age, they will become good friends. In fact, the sibling will be the most important pal. Okay, compared to anyone. Okay, so but till then, like at least you have to address it in a minimal possible way. One thing is the common mistake: see him and learn. See your brother is doing well. See your brother is good in sports. Never ever do that. Okay, in the process of treating one child fairly, you are actually humiliating the other child. Okay, don't do that. Okay, sometimes without our knowledge we do this. Okay, don't do it. Consciously avoid it. So treat them fairly, avoid comparison and truth. For example, if they fight and they one kid is coming and complaining to you, don't shout every time. Like what we do is sometimes we shout at both of them. Okay, don't do it always. At least once in a while, try to find out a truth and say, see, you are not doing right. Okay, you have to be little more kind to your sibling. Okay, once in a while you have to find a truth about what has happened and try to give them a feedback and consequence. Set a ground rules. Okay, whatever happens, you are not supposed to hit, you are not supposed to throw at things. Okay, even like however like bad your sibling has provoked you, you are not supposed to do one or two things which is very important. Okay, so set the ground rules clear so that they won't go into escalation like hitting or hurting them badly, so they won't involve in these things. Okay, so these are the simple tips which you can focus so that the sibling rivalry improves, and over time they will develop bond and rapport and they will do really well. Okay. Okay, this is the next commonly asked question: how do we balance, especially in this lockdown, like where everybody had work from home, and they found it very difficult to balance between work and home. So small kids no other go, somebody has to be with the kid. So little grown up kids have a routine. Okay, if you have a proper routine by including all these things in the routine, like gross motor means like they should have 1 or 2 1.5 hours of physical play. Like it can go up to 2 2.5 hours as well if the kid is very active. Like any physical play, they're running in the terrace or walking, etc. Any physical activity it is mandatory. Fine motor at least half an hour to 1 hour. They should have some craft work, artwork, drawing, etc. Where they have to use the hand. Okay, it can be even helping you in the kitchen. Cognitive, this is where schoolwork. 2 to 3 hours for cognitive activities is important for small kids. Grown up kids anyway, they will involve in most cognitive activities most of the time. They have to sit through the class and they have to do homework, no other go. Daily living skill, one common mistake the parent do is like they will do all these daily living skills. So don't do that. Teach them to involve in daily living skills so that they'll become independent as early as possible. And entertainment, it need not to be uh, phone and TV always. It can be family time, sitting and playing a game and reading a stories or just chatting with them. Okay, so have these points and try to incorporate into a routine and form a structured routine, and don't keep changing the routine. Any kid with a structured routine and you won't unnecessarily change it, they will do really well. If they don't have a routine, they involve in lots of unwanted steps, especially my next thing, that is digital media. So the other common question is how much of media time. Okay, it is guidelines. There is the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines. Below 2 years, no TV, because those kids, if they are vulnerable, if they have some genetic vulnerability, they will end up with all these developmental disorders, especially if you expose them to media before 2 years of age. 2 to 5 years, 1 hour per day maximum in a divided manner. Okay, beyond 5 years, there is no time limit, but it should be controlled. There should be media free zones like dining table or bedroom, and you have to monitor about the content. If you are taking them to a movie, you have to see whether it is U or A certification. If you are buying them video games, see whether it has some addictive potential. And model behavior, if you keep flipping your mobile, they are going to see you and learn. There has to be a very good model media behavior for them to learn a good behavior. Okay, this is about media guidelines which every pediatrician used to insist in their routine, the well baby clinic. We have to follow these things. So the media should form less than 1 hour per day in their daily routine, and most of these things should be incorporated in a routine. And keep rewarding the child when they practice the set routine, so that they will become self-sufficient, and you will be easily able to manage work and child rearing even in lockdown. If they don't have a routine, if it is chaotic, if it is too much of media use, then definitely, you will find it overwhelming. There are lots of parents who asked in the lockdown, I'm not able to manage, so I'm going to apply for a long leave because I couldn't manage both my routine and my child. Okay, but if you have this routine in place, you will be able to manage in a very easy manner. And the other thing is studies. Most commonly, like especially with this online schooling, they find it very difficult to make them focus. Okay, here, if you feel like your child is not focusing, your study setting has to be very clear. Okay, if you are going to make them sit in your bedroom or a playroom and make them listen to online class or make them study, then they will get distracted. Okay, the study room should be as small and as simple as possible, so that their distraction is less. Okay, the second thing is, the other thing is, like you start with, if you are going to make them study, start with a small physical exercise like a jumping or a small, some tens counts of skipping, and start with a small physical exercise and make them study, so that the attention will be much better. And this is the study method, PQRST method. Because of time, I am not going to go into it. Okay, this is the advice by American Psychological Association. You can read up. This is the PQRST method is a effective way for the effective study technique advocated by American Psychological Association. Okay. Okay, last part. We have come to the last part. Handling adolescent. Okay, you all have teenagers at home, and it becomes sometimes overwhelming in handling teenagers. Emotional intelligence. This is something commonly missed. Okay, which is very important nowadays. Even some corporates, software companies, they try to see their emotional intelligence rather than IQ. How well they are coping with their colleagues, so that they don't frequently come to HR with interpersonal problem. Okay, this emotional intelligence is very important. The common steps are self-awareness, self-regulation, and self-motivation. And the last two, understanding others and handling relationship. So basic points I will address now. Self-awareness. Basically, here I'm talking about emotional awareness, especially in adolescent. Okay, there are two things. One is help them to match between their expectation and their own reality. He might want to become a doctor, but he won't be working hard. This is his expectation, but the reality is there is a mismatch. So tell help him to introspect what do you want to become, and whether are you putting the effort. This is also a part of self awareness. The second is emotional awareness. They have to be aware of their emotions. Okay, if they are angry, they have to understand, quickly feel that I am angry. Okay, so how to improve? There is a technique called mindfulness meditation, where every morning 20 minutes to half an hour they can sit and do the deep breathing. Okay, when they do deep breathing, just focus on the breath. Okay, they will get distractions, their thought will go, think about something happy, they will get happy emotions. They will get think something very sad, and they will get depression. Okay, so acknowledge the emotions, come back to the breathing, focus on your breathing, so keep doing it. They will improve their self awareness. Means when they are angry, they'll be able to understand that I am angry. They won't react impulsively. Okay, this is what is self awareness. So the one thing which improves self awareness is mindfulness meditation. The second thing is, tell them to give a self feedback. They every time, like they get up every day, they get up, they have to tell themselves, today there may be things which may go wrong, so I'm going to be aware of my emotions and I won't act impulsively. Okay, this is a feedback that they have to keep giving to improve their awareness. Okay, the second is self regulation, which we have already seen. Okay, anxiety and anger, do deep breathing techniques. Depression, activate yourself. Okay, if you have self awareness, you have self regulation. So if you are anxious or angry, you have to wait for minimum 20 minutes for you to react. Once you have waited for 20 minutes, you ask yourself, what is the best way I can react? Then you react. Okay, this is what we have to teach our kids about self regulation. Okay, this is possible only if you are aware. Okay, once you are aware, you regulate. Third is self motivation. Okay, self motivation, very important is, we have to teach them a lot of we have to tell stories of famous personalities like Steve Jobs, Sachin Tendulkar, Abdul Kalam, etc., for them to have a good crisis management. They have to understand how these famous personalities overcame their crisis and became very successful. Okay, don't overdo every day. Don't teach them something. Once in a while, try to teach them life biography of these famous personalities, so they learn crisis management. And also introduce a concept called delay in gratification, because you tell them your mind always tend to choose the easier option, always tend to choose the comfortable option. So it is not good for you in the long run. So whenever you are in dilemma, you have to tell yourself that you have to delay a gratification for your long term success. So introduce this concept. That's enough. They will be able to apply. Okay, don't do it for them. Just introduce. They'll be able to apply. Okay, this is about self motivation. Okay, if you have done all these things, help them to handle others. Like how to understand others. Most often, the adolescent age, they'll be very selfish. They'll be very greedy. These are normal characteristics of adolescent. Okay, it's okay. Accept them, but tell them they have to think from others' perspective as well. Okay, teach them to think from others' perspective. Whenever you find fault at others, at least once you try to think from their perspective and try to come to a conclusion. If you teach them this theory of mind technique, they will be able to understand others better. Also, one important thing which is lagging now is reading the body language. Help them to read others body language, because in especially in friends group and other thing, they when two three people are talking, when this fellow goes and stand there, they will react. Oh, he has come, kind of, or they will show some expression. This boy without the knowledge will stand there and keep talking, and apparently he'll be rejected by his peers. Okay, so teach him to read others body language, which is very important. Okay, so we commonly won't do these things. So take a time and teach them to read others body language, so that he'll be able to avoid all unnecessary circumstances. Handling relationship. Okay, teach them to focus on others positives. For example, how many times they have appreciated a good food. Not many a times. Okay, when there is little more salt, or when there is less salt, they will be quickly telling it, mom, like, what is this food, like, the salt is less and it is terrible. But when it is good, they never acknowledge. Okay, teach them to acknowledge all positives, be it from parents, or be it from the relatives, or be it from friends. If they start seeing positives, this person will become very lovable. Okay, people will love his company. But if they keep finding negatives, people will try to avoid that person. Okay, so he should develop the habit of finding positives in others. Second, what happens, they keep bottling it up. Also, like, we keep bottling it up, like, we'll keep quiet, keep quiet. One fine day everything will bust open and it will become a bigger problem. So don't do that. That is why this XYZ method is very important. X, this particular behavior, why this particular time was that your feelings, I am not very happy. Okay, you can teach them to tell in a very polite manner, mom, this particular behavior today morning I felt very bad, please don't do it. If they try to communicate in this XYZ method, then and there, you won't bottle it up and it won't end up in a bigger behavior problem. Even adults can practice this in handling kids as well as other adults. Okay, this XYZ method, express then and there in a polite way, so that you won't end up with a bigger fight. Okay, so this is what is basics of emotional intelligence. Be aware of your emotions, try to regulate it, and tell them various stories and delay gratification to improve their motivation. Understand others body language, think from their perspective, and handle relationship in a effective way. Okay, this is emotional intelligence. The last part, how to communicate with adolescent. Okay, this is my famous favorite mnemonic: calm, communication. Okay, how to communicate, as I was talking about nagging, like, we keep telling them repeatedly, so don't do it. We want something to change in them, write in a notebook. Okay, in a week or 10 days time, read that. You will find one or two important things. Okay, take them for a walk, or make them sit, or like take them to a temple and praise them. See, kid, like, you are doing these things, and I like you very much. But if you change these two behaviors, which is not good for you, then you will do really well. Okay, this is the way we have to communicate, rather than keep nagging them or keep advising them all the time. Okay, C for communication. A, authoritative parenting. Here there are four types of parenting. Authoritarian, which is like Hitler. Each and everything there is rules, and you are criticizing him. The last two is permissive parenting and neglectful parenting. Permissive parenting is like giving them whatever they want. Even they want something at 12 in the middle of the night, if the father will run and buy it. Okay. Neglectful parenting is only IMA will raise the kid. Okay, this is neglectful parenting. All these types are not a healthy parenting. In the middle, there is authoritative parenting, where you are very friendly, you are very dynamic. At the same time, when they are crossing the line, you will set limits in a much firmer and less emotional way. Okay, this is what is authoritative parenting. Listen, especially in adolescent. More you listen, you will understand about them. Okay, if you don't listen, if you keep advising them, if you are judgmental, they will never tell you. Okay, they will tell their friends, they will tell their relatives. Later on, you will come and regret. "என் பையன் என்கிட்ட பேசவே மாட்டேங்கிறான்." But only if you listen, he will talk with you and he will take you as a confidant. Okay. Last is modeling. It is very important. He or she will see you and learn rather than listen to you and learn. If you want them to follow a good behavior, make sure you do that good behavior again and again so that he sees you and learn. Okay, this is what is calm. Communicate effectively, follow authoritative parenting, listen to them as much as possible, be a good parent. If you do all these things, your adolescent will see you and learn and become a better adult when they grow up. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Venkateshwaran. That was a very informative talk. I think we've learned so much about how to handle our children and how to handle ourselves also. I think definitely I, for one, will have to go back and look at all the various points and to really understand them better. If I were to ask, I think adolescence is a big phase where parents find it very difficult, this new change in children. Could you describe how do adolescents think, why they behave, what they usually follow, what kind of behavior pattern they follow, and something about general adolescence?
So many things are normal in adolescence because of various bodily changes. For example, I was talking about being self-centered and being very rude and having lots of mood fluctuations. And sometimes this is the time where they move out from the family. Okay, so prioritizing friends over family members and getting influenced by today he will say he want to become a pilot and tomorrow he will say he want to become a doctor and some other day he will see a hero and he want to become a hero. Okay, so they keep changing. So all these things are normal. Okay, so we have to understand this is normal and don't brand them and say like somebody really like they will brand them like you are such a bad person and how are you going to become when you grow up. Okay, so all these things they will brand them and they will have a negative self-esteem, etc., etc. So understand these things are normal and they will improve when they grow up. One thing. Second thing is if it is slightly worse, like for example they are lying, they are stealing, even you have told, but still they are lying and they are stealing, and all this promiscuous behavior like unsafe sexual practice or substance abuse, these things we cannot normalize. Okay, these things definitely like we have to take a professional help. Otherwise, routine behavioral problems and mood fluctuations to some extent it is normal unless it is very severe. Okay, so we acknowledge it and try to advise them in a way I was telling rather than keep telling them all the time. Okay, so this is a better way to deal with the adolescents.
Yes, thank you. That really gives us some insight because I think adolescents are also looking for a certain kind of response from their parents, and we find a lot of adolescents say they feel very lonely because I think parents respond in a way by constantly correcting.
Yes.
And then the adolescent feels.
Yes. Because nowadays, like both the parents are working and they are staying at home and they don't want them to use gadgets as well, and they don't want to move out because of safety concerns. So they should not do anything. What will they do? That is one thing. But unfortunately, because of these limit setting, they get involved in gadgets and video games more and more and become addicted at some point. So if they are very busy, like they have to find avenues to keep them engaged rather than just leaving them as it is and getting all these unwanted habits.
That's true. Thank you very much, Dr. Venkateshwaran.
Thank you.
I hope we get to listen to you again. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Thank you. I thank MGM Hospitals and Marketing team and Dr. Nisha for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.